Hello and welcome to another episode here on my channel. My name is ChaosMole and today we are talking about skipping the leveling process in Final Fantasy XIV. I mean, let's be honest here. It sounds enticing, doesn't it? You are already coming from an MMO, probably World of Warcraft. You have played that MMO for years, if not even decades, and you know MMOs in and out. And let's be real here. Final Fantasy starts off slow. It tries to show you the story, it tries to teach you how your class works, it tries to teach you how MMOs work, and if you are already an experienced player in all of this, you probably look at the content and think, wow, this is slow, or as some people would call it, this is boring. And then you see, oh, wait a second, I can skip ahead to the newest expansion. So that means I could play quicker with my friends or see the endgame content. And I want to tell you why you shouldn't do that. There are multiple reasons why that is a bad idea. First things first, right now everybody is waiting for the Endwalker expansion, and there's nothing really going on in the endgame. Yeah, sure, people are doing raids, people are trying to get their legendaries together, and it's cool. It's nice. People are also leveling their jobs or slash classes, right? So there's nothing really going on right now. Like, people are just trying to finish up all the loose ends they still had as a leftover from the leveling experience and from the endgame experience. And skipping ahead right now doesn't really do anything for you in that regard. But let's talk about the benefits of actually doing the leveling in Final Fantasy XIV. First, let's talk about the obvious thing, and that is the story. The story in Final Fantasy is absolutely important. It is the cornerstone of this game. And think about it like a TV show. You have your most beloved TV show of all time, and you would skip the first 2 seasons, then come back in season 3, and you are like, huh? What is this? Who's this character? Wait, where's the other one? What do you mean he died? What's going on here? You will be completely confused and probably just give up on it in the end, or you try to push through, but it will be a very awkward experience. And it's the same thing in Final Fantasy XIV. Unfortunately, A Realm Reborn is like the first season of a TV show, and they're trying to introduce all the characters, the world, the lore, what happened before, and like how is your main character fitting in all of this, and so on and so forth. Like, it's a lot to take in, and it's sometimes very, very slow. And that's just how it goes. But trust me if I say it gets much, much better with every expansion. Like, Heavensward is already like the next thing where you are ending up in season 2. Like, the characters are established, they are still bringing new characters to the fold, but there's already an overarching story going on, which is really, really interesting, and things already happened, which make you kind of curious about how this evolves. But that is only the story, and I can already hear some people saying, dude, I don't care for the story. Like, I'm not a story guy. Yeah, again, like, this is not the World of Warcraft type of story where it really doesn't matter too much. But let's talk about the gameplay aspect here, because there are actually a handful of gameplay aspects you would miss out completely if you are not doing the leveling. Let's be real here. In World of Warcraft, leveling is a side note. It's a thing you have to do before you reach the end game, and everything you're doing in between is, well, pretty much useless in the end game. Like, yeah, you have learned how your class plays, you have seen some of the dungeons you are running over and over again, but the real deal begins with the end game. And Final Fantasy XIV is very different. There are a lot of end game aspects you are actually unlocking in the leveling process. And let's say you skip, you boost your character, you still have to do the side quests to unlock those endgame gameplay content. You still have to do some of the side quests to, let's say, unlock an endless dungeon. You can run over and over again to get more XP, to get better equipment, and that is something you are still doing in the endgame. And the game is not telling you about this. The game is not coming back to you and it's like, oh, I see you have boosted your character. You maybe want to go into this area and unlock the endless dungeon. So maybe you find never out about this if nobody is telling you, right? And it's not only that. It's the same thing, like World of Warcraft has the leveling process, and then there's the end game. And it's completely splitting those things apart. Like raiding. You want to do raiding in World of Warcraft? Well, you better reach the max level first. In Final Fantasy XIV, that's not the case. After a few levels, you unlock the first quote-unquote raid, aka the trial, which is like a full 8-people dungeon where you have to fight one boss, and that is basically your first mini-raid. And then a little bit later in the game, you actually unlock full-on raids with 25 people in it. And yes, that is still in the leveling phase. And the same goes with the dungeon you were actually leveling in Final Fantasy XIV in World of Warcraft. When a new expansion is coming out, all the old content doesn't matter anymore. Like, it's just a thing you are leveling through as quickly as possible, but it doesn't really matter in the end game. Like, nobody is doing Cataclysm anymore to get some gear out of it. Nobody is doing the dungeons anymore to really like foster your endgame character in World of Warcraft, right? In Final Fantasy XIV, that's the opposite. None of the content really goes away. Like, even endgame characters are doing their daily dungeon roulette, where they are then getting currencies for the expansion they are playing right now to buy more gear, and they are running old dungeons for that. Or some people are doing the old raids to still get like some cosmetics out of it and get some other gear they want. So again, all the things you're doing in the leveling process never become old. They never really go away. And it really, really helps if you are still in the leveling process, because everybody is like, oh, you were leveling up your character. Of course, you have no clue what's going on here. Nobody is expecting anything from you. But then when you reach the max level through the leveling, you have already seen most of the dungeons, even some of the raids, and you know your way around. If you would just skip with your first character, you wouldn't know a lot of the things going on in Final Fantasy XIV, and especially later on, like some of those dungeon boss fights, they can become quite difficult and can actually expect a lot from you. And if you would skip that, you would probably do some terrible mistakes by running the boosted character for the first time through dungeons and raids. So don't skip ahead. The same goes, of course, with crafting. Yes, you can still do crafting later. Of course, I've done the same thing. But taking a look at already like the early crafting and maybe combining that with your leveling process is not a bad thing. Or at least to have a peek at it. I wouldn't necessarily say do the crafting at the same time when you are also doing the leveling. Like, crafting can take a long, long time, and it is its own thing. But again, skipping leveling in Final Fantasy XIV, I would say does more damage really for first character than it helps you. Again, if you later on want to boost like an old character, that's completely fine. I know a lot of people who are doing it. But your first character, yeah, you hurt yourself more than you help it. Especially right now, as I said, where most people are more or less done with the endgame content right now, and they're just finishing up some loose ends they have. And that's about it. So there is no real reason to skip. And even later on, if you should watch this video and the new Endwalker expansion is out and you want to join, take your time. Like, the old content is not really becoming old. Again, it's not like World of Warcraft when there is a new patch coming out, you basically forget about the other patch. And it's like, okay, let's just focus on all the new content and forget about all the other things we have been doing till then. That doesn't happen in Final Fantasy XIV, so you don't have to worry about that. But yeah, if you still have some reasons why people shouldn't actually skip ahead in the leveling process, let me know in the comments. I would definitely love to know about it. If I've missed something, definitely let me know. And we are done here with the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you are on your way out, I would appreciate if you might consider to leave a like. If you didn't like this video, well, the dislike button is right next to it. And if you're new to the channel, you want to see more Final Fantasy XIV content, Lost Ark content, and me reacting to videos, doing live streams, like the whole shebang a content creator is doing today, you might want to consider to subscribe to this channel. Thanks so much for watching, folks. Hope I see you next time. Bye-bye.